So, Jimmy, how do you know when a salesperson's doing a great job? Welcome to Maximize Business Value Podsnack, a bite-sized version of the Maximize Business Value podcast, because sometimes you just don't have time for a full podcast meal.
That's really a great question. So the first answer is always, well, you look at the results, right? You look at their numbers. Are they hitting that number every month? And if they are hitting the number every month, that's great. But it's really about how do I take the B players and make them into A players, or the C player, and do I get rid of them or do I move them into being a B player and so forth? And so it's more than just the results. It's really about looking at the everyday process. And I've the worst thing a sales manager can do is wait till the end of a quarter to do an assessment of a salesperson and say, hey, you didn't hit your number. Sorry, we're gonna have to let you go and we'll bring in the next person. What you really want to do is you want to monitor and look at and manage, and it's not micromanagement, but you want to manage a salesperson weekly. It's accountability. The first mentor I ever had was back when I was in my early 20s. And I remember to this day exactly what he told me. He said it's all about short-term goals and short-term accountability. And by that, it means that you don't want to have an annual goal and you don't look at it but once a year, right? My goal is $1 million and there's my goal. And nobody holds me accountable to it until I get close to the end of the year. And it's like, oh, you're not going to hit your goal. What you want to do is you want to take any goal you have and break it down into weekly numbers. And you want to be able to monitor that and hold people accountable to that weekly number. If we know, for instance, that it takes 10 proposals to get one sale, well, how many calls does it take to get that appointment for that one proposal? And so you just break that down and work backwards. So anytime that I've had a salesperson that was not hitting the numbers, I would always look at their weekly activities and work it backwards. And you can always then identify, what do they need? They're not there to be criticized and hurt their feelings because they didn't hit their numbers. They're there because they want to hit their numbers. They want to make a living. They want to do beyond that. And so how do we really make sure they're doing that? You look at their weekly numbers, you hold them accountable. And then you can say, hey, here, maybe this is the problem. Maybe you're just not making quite enough cold calls, or maybe from those cold calls, you're not getting enough appointments. Let's look at that piece of your process and see if we can help improve that. So you work it back that way. And so what happens is you take B players, they become A players, or C players, they become B players. The other benefit to the company is you're not hiring and firing all the time.
And that is so expensive.
Oh, it is. And yeah, the expense is not just obviously the 3 months or 6 months that you've wasted on somebody, but it's the benefits, it's the recruiting costs, the time, particularly that's really the cost. How much time is wasted or lost by sales management, by middle management, by the individual.
I love that. Take short-term goals and then short-term accountability. It's kind of the same thing that we do in our exit planning practice. We help business owners design and execute the ultimate exit plan. But that's a long-term goal, right? It might be 4 years or 5 years or whatever it is out in the future. We have very short-term accountability things that you have to do in order to reach that goal. Same thing with sales. If you set a target for the year, how do you break it down, and what should we be doing every week, and how do we measure the results every week? Short-term goals, short-term accountability, and that builds long-term success.
That's exactly right.
Good. Are you hungry for more? Check out our next Podsnack, or you can enjoy the value-size Maximize Business Value podcast wherever you found this podcast.